Hello everyone, welcome back to Eternal Takes with Anna. And today we're going to be talking about ego and accountability and how they intertwine. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so my first thoughts about ego and accountability. So I'm just going to start with ego at first a little bit because I feel like it's kind of a misunderstood topic. But what I understand ego to be and what it is defined as, it is basically your own concept of self-esteem and self-confidence, right? So it's basically how you think about yourself, like your own confidence levels, your own, I guess, just like sense of importance in the world, like how you see yourself. And while it's very important, it can be very beneficial in pulling you out of like horrible situations, out of depressive episodes. It can also be kind of conflated with identity at times. So I find this to be really interesting because sometimes you meet people, especially in college too, and like you can just sense their ego from a mile away. And that doesn't really go away. Like, it's not just like in high school or college, like that continues throughout life. You will find people who are full of themselves, basically, like with their ego. But your identity and your sense of ego are not the same thing. So you can have an identity and you can be completely sure of yourself. You can be proud of who you are and your heritage, like that sort of thing. But you don't have to be egotistical about it in order to be confident. So I think sometimes that gets conflated. Like, you can have an identity, but you don't need to have ego with it. Ego can be beneficial and it does make you confident. It does make you hold yourself to a higher esteem, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with its own troubles. And today we're going to talk about one of the issues that I have with ego, which is taking accountability. So let's get into it. So I think the biggest place where I see people's egos play out is literally just the workplace. So if you've ever had a job, like, you know what I'm talking about, whether it's in student government or it's literally just like a little barista job, like wherever you've worked in your whole life, I bet that you've seen people's egos come out and they play out in different ways. And the most notable way that I want to talk about today that I hate, and I wish people would work on themselves for this, and I'm here to give you advice on how to work on this if this is you, is sometimes at work, people will literally not take accountability for problems that they caused. And that kind of is rooted in their ego. So they think that they're too godly. They think that they didn't do anything wrong. They're always the victim in certain scenarios. You know what I'm saying? So I think my best advice to people who know that they suck at taking accountability and want to do something to change that is to kind of take a moment, like when you're in a workplace situation, or maybe if you're in a friend group, like whatever situation this is, you know that you're bad at taking accountability, you get defensive, you always get feedback from your friends and family that you suck at taking feedback. Like, sometimes it's time, if you want to really work on yourself and change yourself, I really recommend starting with IDing, like identifying where in your life these moments of insecurity show up. Where in your life do you feel defensive, that you feel like, okay, I can't take accountability in this era of my life? Where is that? Why does that keep showing up? So first, it starts with you identifying, I guess, where, like, what are the moments that this happens in. So next time that, let's say you're in a workplace, you're at work and you make a mistake. You don't realize that at the moment until your supervisor comes up to you and they sit you down, it's all serious, and they're like, how did this happen? And instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, this is what happened, this is what I meant, this is not what I intended, like taking accountability while explaining. Usually what people do is they avoid the problem, they blame somebody else for the problem, and it's really important in those moments to not say anything. If you're that type of person that you will blame somebody else or you will avoid the problem completely, it's really important that you just identify in that moment when it's happening again that, okay, this is the moment where I get defensive. And then the next step is, once you've identified, okay, this is the moment that I get to make a decision, then you don't react. You don't respond in that defensive moment. You don't say something egregious. You don't blame the person that's coming to you, trying to give you feedback, trying to help you out, and put them under the bus. You know, it's really important that if you feel like really triggered and insecure in that moment, that you just stand up and leave and go to like another room. Kind of just like say thank you for the feedback. I'm going to reflect on it and I'll get back to you. Don't respond if you're not sure of yourself. Do not ever respond. This goes beyond just this situation of accountability. Like if you're ever in life in a situation where you're like, I have very heightened emotions and I know what I want to respond with, do not respond with heightened emotions, period. Like I love this lesson so much because it's bit me in the behind too many times. And like genuinely, I wish more people knew this, because so many bridges get burnt because people act on their emotion in the moment. So what you're not going to do is blow up. You're going to instead say thank you for the feedback. I'm going to reflect on it and literally just step away and like do what you need to do to move on at that moment, and to kind of just not necessarily suppress the emotion, but just kind of isolate yourself. And then later on in the day, next day, whenever you're alone and you have time by yourself, sit down and journal and be like, or just talk to yourself, talk to somebody you love and be like, reflect on, where is this deep insecurity, where is this triggering moment rooted in? Okay, is it like your childhood? Is it you having a tough upbringing, nobody being in your corner when you were a little child, or like people just ganging up on you your whole life, you not having a stable friend group, you feeling like you were isolated your whole life, you know, like where is this coming from? These are just some examples, right? Once you identify, okay, this is where the root is, so actually this situation isn't even about me. I did nothing wrong. Like obviously you made a mistake, so you did do something wrong, but you as an individual with value, with ambitions, you're not wrong for existing. You just did something wrong that messed up something at work, and that's completely okay. We mess up at work all the freaking time. Even your bosses have messed up, your supervisors have messed up, the CEO has messed up. Like you're not the only person messing up at work. And I feel like people take it so seriously when they mess up. It's like, it's the end of the world, I'm gonna get fired. And like that is such a valid feeling. Like trust me, I am there with you. I am in my head about it. I'm thinking about it on my commute home. I can't sing anymore. Like it gets really intense, but it's really important to not let it get so intense, because that's also what's letting you what's stopping you from apologizing. Because you get so insecure, you get so triggered that your ego comes out. And this is not the good side of ego. This is the defensive ego that's saying, you know what, like you can't talk to me like that. I'm better than you, so I'm not going to take accountability. Or you blow up and you point out somebody else's insecurities and what's wrong in their life. And that's not okay either. Like verbal abuse isn't cute, guys. So my point here is, don't let situations get so intense and have so much control over you. Don't let your emotions have so much control over you that they don't bring out the good side of ego in you. They bring out the defensive, that I'm better than this, I don't need to apologize side of you. Apologizing is chic. Apologizing is cute. Taking accountability of your actions is valuable, and you shouldn't regret ever doing that. And the only time you're going to regret apologizing is when you make a mistake, but you meant it. It was intentional. Don't apologize for things that you don't mean to apologize for, that you're not really sorry for, you don't really regret, because you're just trying to tell someone what they want to hear. And then afterwards, like, it's going to backfire on you, because then you're going to keep making the same mistake, because whether it's intentional or you just don't care enough, then you're going to hurt the person again, and then you're just going to be in this cycle of apologizing, but there's no actual change. right? So are you really sorry? My point here is that you can deal with your ego by practicing humility. You can deal with your ego by practicing humility, and how you practice humility is by taking accountability, by apologizing and truly, truly meaning it. And a lot of people avoid accountability, and this is another caveat too. A lot of people avoid accountability. They avoid apologizing because they think it makes them look weak. It makes their confidence go down. They're like, ugh, it has become my identity that I've made this mistake, whether it's at work or in a friendship, in a relationship. And they take that so seriously that it literally becomes a part of them, even though it never was. Nobody else is looking at you and defining you by your mistake. And if they are, then you shouldn't keep them in your life. But most people, most of the time, they're not going to hold you to a mistake. They're going to accept your apology and move on. But most of the time, people don't apologize, again, because they think it makes them look weak. And because you don't apologize, you don't take accountability, you deflect and you blame the other person. That person then, or that boss or supervisor, whatever the situation is, they then built resentment against you because they're like, you did me dirty and you have nothing to say about it? Like, what? That doesn't make sense logically. And what does that say about how much you care about us, right? And then the other cases, if you do apologize, but you're not coming from a place of humility, you're apologizing because you're like, here, there, this is what you wanted. Like, here you go. And you don't really regret what you did. You can't think of it from the other person's point of view, how it could have hurted them. You're so egotistical that you can't also see that, like, yes, I can be confident, but also see my flaws and my downsides, and I can take accountability of that. It's not confident of you. It's not high self-esteem of you. It's not baddie of you to love yourself, but to a limit. Love yourself until it gets to your flaws. Once it gets to your flaws, you're defensive, you're deflective, and, and that actually, once you're there at that point where you're like, I'm egotistical, but I don't want to lose this job, or I don't want to lose this friendship, so like, here you go, here's your stupid apology. Like, once you do that, then builds your resentment. Now you also hate this person because you never meant that apology, and you feel like you're being forced to apologize to keep this friendship or keep this job, and now you're not gonna like working there or being around this person. Like, what's the point, right? So I think the lesson here is being accountable isn't a super complex thing. It's actually really simple. It's as simple as being humble and apologizing for your mistake. But where it does get complicated, where it does get complex, is when people have an ego when it comes to taking accountability. And they think that accountability is a bad thing because it defines their identity as someone who often makes mistakes. And that's a bad thing. But I think my favorite quote, and I actually saw this on TikTok. Maybe I'll put a picture of the TikTok here to give credit. But it literally said something along the lines of, like, you can't expect success without failure. Like, failure and success, they're best friends. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was like, if you hang out with failure a lot, you get closer to success, or like something like that, right? So you making mistakes in any part of your life is not a bad thing. You're getting closer to getting it right because you now know what not to do. But if you don't do that reflection, if you don't think about, okay, why did I even make this mistake in the first place? What was my line of thinking that led me here? If you don't do that reflection piece, then it's going to be harder for you to do the right thing next time because you're not challenging yourself to think in the right ways. You're continuing to think in those ways that led you to making the mistake in the first place. So that's what I'll end with today. It's a little bit of a shorter episode, a more advicey episode, more reflective episode, but I do want people to be more accountable in their lives and hold coworkers, hold themselves to a higher standard. And that starts with you kind of like, you can still be confident. I'm not saying, oh, you need to humble yourself and like not appreciate yourself and look down on yourself and hate yourself. No, like love yourself so much that you see your flaws, you can look them in the eye and say, that is me. That is nobody else's flaw. That is my flaw. I own it and I will fix it. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next week in the next episode. Bye.